Hey guys, welcome to the Hobby News. Alright, so this week Gen Con revealed some pretty juicy stuff for us to look at. As you can see, it's Black Templar stuff, which is cool. So, we've already had a few little teasers about it, and now they've revealed, I guess what they're initially intending to release. We don't know necessarily whether or not that's all that's going to be released, but there's enough here to get Black Templar players excited. I certainly think it's really, really cool for Space Marines in general. The models that we're going to see are pretty usable for most chapters if you want to do conversions and things like that. If you're a dirty Dark Angel player like me, a solid Chaos player, then the robed stuff that we're going to have a look at, pretty much perfect for Dark Angel conversions and that sort of thing, or any kind of monastic or sort of chapter that you want to try to build. This type of stuff with the robes is perfect. So yeah, let's take a look. So the Black Templars are back with a crusading new army set. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of different things we're going to look at, different model kits and so on, which is all pretty interesting. So yeah, alongside the next season of Warhammer Underworlds, a never before seen Blood Bowl team and splendid expansions for Kill Team, we've given a sneak peek of the new Black Templars box set to the lucky attendees at this year's Gen Con. But it's only fair that everyone else gets a look. Yeah. So we've got sort of a special edition kind of looking box here, which is pretty nice. I do like this type of thing when they do this sort of I guess almost monochromatic kind of covers. That's a really cool look for 40k stuff especially. And yeah, this is really nice. It's like the first time I think Black Templars, as I've said before when we were first looking at it, this is really the first time Black Templars have had like a real spotlight on them, which is really interesting, and I think it's about time. They really do. They're one of those chapters that really sums up that certain aspect of Warhammer's grimdark aesthetic, and it seems really crazy that they've never really delved into this and put it as one of the main features of 40k, because it does just all the elements of these models perfectly aligned with what you expect Space Marines to be like. It's pretty cool. So let's take a look. So the army set contains 13 miniatures, including 12 new Black Templars, a Marshal, the Emperor's Champion, and a 10-man Primaris Crusader squad with a ton of build options. You'll also get a Redemptor Dreadnought for targets which require more forceful elimination. Yep. So it's a pretty nice set. You've got some nice options in there. I think this is pretty cool if you're just starting out. Like if I was a new hobbyist or a kid getting into this, or anyone that's fresh, this would really excite me. I love Dreadnoughts. That's great. You get a couple of characters in there, which is really nice, and you get some troops to muck around with. So I don't know. It seems it's pretty obvious set. Regardless of value, I think it's a good mix for you to paint and build and so on. So yeah, it should be, and it's going to be pretty much these type of models are going to be included in almost every Space Marine army. So you're not really losing out anywhere, or things that you probably wouldn't use ever. You certainly are going to use them. So yeah, that's really cool. So let's see if we get a closer look at some of these. So the new Marshal comes with a couple of options, including 2 choices of head, a selection of weapons. There's also an optional purity seal, but can you really imagine setting off on any crusade without sufficient sanctification? Yeah, so that's nice. They've at least given some options. These new monopose kits tend to be a little bit I guess non-convertible, if that's a word. They tend to want you to make them as they're designed. So that's fine and all, but it is nice when they give options. So this model particularly, though, is relatively easy to convert if you take a look at it. It's got the arms are out, that sort of thing. So regardless of how this kit is actually, comprised, it's probably going to be relatively easy to convert. You can chop a lot of parts off and that sort of thing. So I think this model's going to be used for a lot of other things. I can see this model getting used as a really cool chaplain or something like that for another chapter. I like the addition of this kind of plating design that we've got going on here, and we'll see that further in one of the other characters that we're going to look at. So that's really interesting. I think that this type of effect on these new Primaris are really nice. trying to get some diversity in some of these armored pieces is a really good thing. So that's really cool. And there's not like that much Black Templar stuff going on here. You could file most of this off and change it around and green stuff over it and so on. So, this is definitely convertible for sure. So that's a really cool thing. So I really like that. Let's have a look here. So yeah, these are really interesting. So yeah, I'm super curious to see in how many parts these are in and how convertible they are. But just as a base, I mean, these are perfect for all kinds of chapters, right? You could be using this for anything. I really like having models with robes on them. That's back in the day in the early 2000s, when they brought out the Dark Angel stuff with the robed figures and that sort of thing. So, having models like this with these extra little bits of, I guess, monastic kind of, accoutrement, as it were, you get to like really dig into some of those aspects of Space Marines which make them what they are. And here we're getting a pretty nice combination of elements. I like this sort of gorget here, I think that's what it's called, this sort of pointed one with the studs. That's like a slightly unique look. We're getting some differences across these bottom plates, so we're getting like a seamless armor plate now on the leg armor there, which is interesting. I don't know how I feel about, like, because I really love Mark 6 armor, so I've been like umming and ahhing over, do I do Mark 6 and convert these to sort of semi look like Mark 6 but not really, but remove the knee pads sort of thing and make them one seamless thing? Yeah, it's got a weird shape, like the old Mark 6 is a bit more pointed, and it's hard to convert these over to that. So I don't know, I'm still mixed minds, but generally speaking it does look cool, and I think that overall these parts are pretty good. So let's see if they've got some others there. So yeah, we've got also the neophytes here, and that's a really cool idea, giving you some, I guess, Primaris sized scouts, which is pretty good, and from the looks of it also quite convertible. I mean, these arms are separated out, so you could easily chop them and do different things. So yeah, that's a really cool thing for Space Marines, to have some proper sized scouts that you could use. And once again, we've seen this figure before, pretty cool. So yeah, we've got some nice details, secondary details. I like all this crossing of straps and so on. That gives it a nice look. Yeah, there's a lot of cool little details. I'm not sure about these heads. I think these heads are a little ugly, but I don't know. I'm not really a huge fan of these ball cuts on. You get a lot of that on sisters as well. I'm not sure I know it's the monastic thing, it's that whole religious thing, but I don't know, it on a little tiny model like this, it makes it look very ugly. So I don't know, there's got to be a better way, to do that. But you could change the heads, I guess. But yeah, I've never really, I think just either go bald or go like hard shaved, stuff like that. Even better, they could have some like studded kind of elements to their shaved head, like some ornamentation, that sort of thing. That'd be kind of cool. But yeah, I've never really been a fan of the ball cut. But if you like it, that's great. But yeah, anyway, let's have a look. Yeah, this is better. So this kind of stuff where it's all shaved and so on along the sides, that sort of thing. That's more military as well. I realize these are sort of, more religious orders, but I don't think they're going to war with those kind of ball cuts. They'd be forcing their military to shave. I would imagine it's a pretty standard practice amongst almost any military force that we know, that we have here on Earth. I would imagine that in the future that would be the same way. It has a lot of practical reasons for that. So I definitely like this head a lot better. That's really cool. And, a slightly different ethnic background as well. That's really cool. It's nice to see that in the mix. So yeah, all in all, these models are great. I really love this. So this is where, I like that head a lot. So that's really cool. And this one's nice too. So this is like the quintessential, I guess, Black Templar Space Marine look. For me, this says it all. The way it's striding forward, the various movement in the robes, this chained gun here, the little smaller shield icon on the shoulder pad there, and I even love that head. So Salamander players will be excited by this, because that's another good head for your chapter as well. That's really cool. I like this look a lot, and the darker skin tones actually really complement well with the black armor there. It's very it's almost Samuel L. Jackson vibes going on there. This guy looks like he's gonna be taking some names, so with that bolter. So I really like that. I think it's very, very, very cool. And then almost the exact opposite, this sort of Dolph Lundgren head over here. If anyone remembers who that is, if you're young, you probably don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But anyone that's old enough to know who Dolph Lundgren is, we've got that kind of thing going on here with this sort of head, or even what's his name from wrestling? Man, I've forgotten his name. The really big dude with the shaved head that's like the heavyweight one. That's an actual UFC fighter. I've forgotten his name now. But anyway, that's got his kind of style haircut there, which is pretty cool. So, they've got some nice little characterful elements, and obviously the sword and everything. It's all really cool. I really like these guys. I think they've done a good job. And it's definitely going to excite Space Marine players of all chapters to get into some of this stuff. So that's really cool. I won't waffle on too long there. So we've also got, this is really interesting. So this is like your classic, would have been 3rd edition, like early 2000s edition, John Blanche artwork for the cover. I really like that. I think that's very, very cool. Bringing back some of that old flavors, awesome, because there is such a long history and a lot of gems, that occur over these generations that sort of get lost. I find that a lot with this high turnover of new editions, new models, cycling, that sometimes, Warhammer doesn't really, or Games Workshop doesn't really almost recognize when they've got a good thing. They tend to just pass over it and it keeps going. Sometimes they actually do strike gold and you don't need to improve on that. You know what I mean? That happens a lot in the rules. That happens a lot where they nail a really great concept or rule and then just arbitrarily, because they're doing a new edition, they change it. It's like sometimes, I feel like this hobby and this game and the company itself would do well if they sort of had more confidence in themselves sometimes with some of these rules and recognize when they're doing well, because in terms of money making from a business standpoint, if you've nailed it, you've nailed it. It's like once you've invented the wheel, it's the wheel. You don't need to, all you need to do is make new shiny rims and, new tread. You don't need to reinvent the whole structure. It's there, and that's sometimes what I feel like gets lost in these editions. So I've noticed that they've been going back and revisiting some older ideas and some older concepts over the last few years that I've been back in the hobby. I think that's a really good thing, because there are a lot of gems in the older editions and the older design concepts and ideologies and so on that went into those editions that could easily be utilized. They've got such a giant breadth of material to draw on, and to not incorporate some of that in just because it's old or whatever. And it goes beyond that sort of retroism or nostalgia, which obviously does help to sell product, right? But it's more than that, because it's remembering that they've had a very, very lucky time of designers and creative people in their company over a long period of time, which has developed some very, very good products for them, you know what I mean? And so to bring that back in, even if it's simple covers, all that stuff, very, very good. I think that's the way to go, because also inducting a new generation into what makes this thing really cool, because it does go back a long time and all of it is really cool. Even the early stuff, even the Rogue Trader stuff, there's been gems that have been hidden amongst all of these editions all the way through. Even the bad editions had good elements to them, and I think that's an important feature of not forgetting where you've come from. And you see that even in AOS, they're bringing back Warhammer Old World. They're going to bring it back, because even if that game system, fantasy, wasn't really working and it was losing money and whatever, they're going to make a business decision and change it up. That's fine, but it doesn't mean that length of breadth of lore and background and just development and work that's gone into that IP or Warhammer Fantasy can't be still utilized further down the track. To just annihilate it completely seems absolutely ridiculous to me, and it did when I came back in. I was like, you didn't need to blow it up. You could still have it around, and sure enough, someone up there has realized, hey, that's probably a good idea to keep it around. It still is in computer gaming. You've got Warhammer Total War, and that's doing very, very well. It's one of the best Warhammer computer games that you can play. It's extremely successful. And so, and that's all based on the fantasy world. So you've got all these sort of elements out there that are still, what makes it good is still good, even if it wasn't selling or whatever. You can reimagine it, you can reincorporate it in and refresh it in a way that does make it more compatible with the modern world and the modern way that we interact with games. And so I think that's all like really interesting things. And I think the more that they realize that they're actually sitting on a massive gold mine. It's not just what can they rebrand and rethrash out. It's how can we really meaningfully incorporate this stuff into our modern game to really instill a deeper, richer experience for all of the hobbyists that enjoy this. And by virtue then it'll obviously make them more money. I mean, that's just a given. They're in one of those unusual situations that we all know that we're all just willing to throw our money at them, almost at anything. So they're in a very, very powerful position, and they need to realize that and be respectful. And I realize me saying that right now over the past months and so on, certain actions they've done haven't been great, but still, when you see things like this from the design point of view, that's obviously a positive. There are people inside that company that are batting for the hobby. They're not all just suits money men. You know what I mean? Possibly at the very top, that's true, but for the majority of the company, they're just hobbyists like you and me, and they obviously want to see it do well and all that stuff. So that's really nice. I won't waffle on too much longer on that, but I felt like that was a good thing to say, because a lot of this stuff is really it feels like it's like the year 2000 2.0, you know what I mean? Like where it almost is, right? 2021. But that it feels like they're really trying to bring back some of those elements that is what made Warhammer really appealing in those early days. So yeah, let's finally look at Helbrecht here, who's now become a Primaris man, which is pretty cool. I still remember the original model. So we've got Helbrecht returns, the High Marshal, who leads his crusades from the front. Yep. So this is really cool. This is an excellent upgrade for him. I think it's a really nice model. It's in a great pose, again with this this segmented armor plating. I think that's really, really cool. Everything about him is awesome. It's like the old model, but better, right? And there's tons of little elements. This is actually quite convertible as well. I feel like you're going to see some Dark Angel conversions right here. You're going to see some custom chapter stuff done with this one. It's pretty juicy for converters out there, kit bashers. There's not a lot you have to take off. There's a few symbols, but overall, you can really work on this one and utilize it. I can see some great Iron Warrior, Chaos Lord conversions here. There's a lot of interesting stuff you could do with this, and I love the little servitor guys here that are cleaning the weapon and so on, holding his gun. That's very classic. Overall, really, really beautiful, right? I mean, it's everything that Warhammer 40k is, right? This is a very the epitome of what this hobby is all about when it comes to 40k and Space Marines. Really, really cool to see. I like it. And again, showing you some like classic sort of, I guess, their black and white imagery is some of the most recognizable of early 40k, and to make that the image that they show you is a telling sign that they realize what's important about this stuff. So that's really good, and we'll have a look at some details. Yeah, I mean, what else to say? I mean, I think I've waffled on for long enough. This is just really cool. I even love that. Well, the helmet there is really good. That's pretty nice. That's a unique style. I don't think they've ever done that in the modern models yet. So that's really cool. So you get like a knightly helm. That's awesome. So yeah, I mean, overall, just really, really awesome. We'll leave it on this here so you can bask in all his glory. So I think overall, very positive. Gen Con showed some really nice stuff. If I get time this week, I'll try to do some looks at the Necromunda stuff that was released and the Blood Bowl team. But for now, this will, I guess, be it. I hope you've enjoyed this. Please hit that like button, subscribe button if you have. And I guess I'll catch you on the next one.